Shane Bowen is the worst defensive coordinator in the NFL, and it's finally time for Brian Daboll and the New York Giants to move on. In today's matchup against the Denver Broncos, this defense in the fourth quarter was piss poor all the way through. They lost this game 33-32, but that's not even half of it. The Denver Broncos did not have a single point in the first, second, or third quarter. All 33 points came within one quarter, the fourth quarter. And this is not the first time that we've seen a Shane Bowen defense take a massive step back and allow big time play after big time play. Let's go back to week 1 here against the Washington Commanders. You have this defense that is built off of front seven and pressure. You would think you traded a second and a fifth round pick a year ago to bring in Brian Burns from the Carolina Panthers. That's a pretty good pass rusher. He's not an elite pass rusher, but he's pretty good. You have Kayvon Thibodeau. You spent a first round pick on him. Even though he's been inconsistent as a pass rusher, he has his moments. So that's 2 players right there. You have Dexter Lawrence, one of the best defensive linemen in this league in terms of stopping the run, getting to the passer. He's a phenomenal defensive tackle. He's amazing. And you spent a first round pick in this year's draft class on Abdul Carter. Those are 4 players and your front seven that can wreak havoc on the quarterback if you move them around and use them correctly. But against the Washington Commanders, you allow 432 yards of total offense, 6.6 yards per play, 32 carries on the day for 220 rushing yards, 7 yards a carry, 0 turnovers. And Jaden Daniels is moving the ball through the air. Then he starts to hand the football off. They're working off a misdirection and you couldn't catch on. So they ran through the defense, and Russell Wilson got a lot of blame in this matchup, but this defense was awful. They lost this game 21-6. They were able to move the field over and over again and use time possession. But in week 2 against the Dallas Cowboys, Russell Wilson finally had a good game. 450 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. He did have the 1 interception. You'll say, hey, Russell Wilson, we got 37 points. With the defense that we have, with Javon Holland on the back end that we brought in free agency, a very good safety and coverage from the Miami Dolphins. We bring in Paulson Adebo, who had a lot of good moments with the New Orleans Saints. We're cooking with something. If Russ can just give us 28 points, that should be a win. You lose this game 40-37. Prevent defense yet again, week 2 against the Dallas Cowboys. 478 yards of total offense, 6 yards per play. Dak Prescott, 38 of 52, 343 passing yards, 135 rushing yards on the day for the Dallas Cowboys, 5 yards a carry. This is a defense. They have very good players, but they can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass when it matters. So you take Russell Wilson out of the starting lineup, and rightfully so. Russell Wilson, he's not the same Russ that he used to be, but I wish him nothing but the best moving forward. So you go with Jaxson, who you drafted in the first round. You traded up in the first round at that. He has been a superstar so far. Against the Los Angeles Chargers, he comes in 111 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown. Had a rushing touchdown for 54 rushing yards. You win this matchup 21-18. But here's the key. Even though the defense looked good, you're going against a second and third string offensive lineman for the Los Angeles Chargers. And yet again, late in this matchup, what did Shane Bowen do? Prevent defense. He only rushed 3. And they were able to walk away with turnovers on Jaxson. Dexter Lawrence had an interception. Not because of Shane Bowen. He tipped the ball up at the line of scrimmage. But if you realize right behind Dexter Lawrence, it's a wide open player. Right behind him. That's more so on the players than Shane Bowen. And you know what? I'll give him some credit in this video. They had a very good defensive game plan against the Philadelphia Eagles Thursday night. You held the reigning Super Bowl champions to 17 points. But once again, Jaxson looked phenomenal in that matchup. 195 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 0 interceptions, and a rushing touchdown for 58 rushing yards. But in today's matchup against the Denver Broncos, they were dominating against the Broncos. You had the right game plan for the first, second, and third quarter. Get to the quarterback, use that pass rush, play aggressive at the line of scrimmage. And now you have Jaxson. He goes out there, he throws an interception late in the matchup. It's a rookie mistake. He does deserve some blame for that interception. But you still have time to come back in this matchup. Jaxson Dart gets him down the field. It was a controversial pass interference play, but it was pass interference. QB sneak, they get the touchdown. Now the kicker, he didn't just miss one, he missed 2 extra points in this matchup. Now if he goes out there and he executes, we're talking about a different situation here. But once again, when you're up that big in this matchup, you should not have to depend on your kicker to make extra points. Every single point does matter in this league, don't get me wrong. But you had the right defensive game plan, and yet you let the Denver Broncos score 33 points in the fourth quarter. It's not like the interception that Jaxson Dart threw went for a pick 6, because it didn't. Shane Bowen let this team down yet again. It's 28 seconds left on the clock for Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. They have 0 timeouts. He plays that stupid prevent defense yet again that he played against the Dallas Cowboys. Bo Nix on 1 completion. They're at the 50-yard line. The next play, they're back into field goal range. It took 2 plays to get into field goal range. Instead of rushing those dominant pass rushers and having coverage on the back end, what does Shane Bowen do? He only rushes 3. And he puts more guys in coverage. And it's the soft zone coverage. I can see if you're playing press man underneath and you have the safeties over the top. That's different. And even then, that's a bad game plan. 30 seconds, that's a lot of time. This should have been a win for the Denver Broncos. We should be talking about how the New York Giants are making changes into the right direction with Jaxson Dart at the quarterback position. Instead, the biggest story right now in New York will be how bad of a defensive coordinator Shane Bowen has been. Year in and year out with this organization. But we got to see this last season. I'm not shocked by this. This defense has not been the same since Wink Martindale left to become the defensive coordinator for Michigan at the college level. And he's doing a very good job at Michigan, by the way. But there was a lot of reports that came out that him and Brian Daboll, they did not see eye to eye. They had a lot of heated arguments. And Wink Martindale said, I want it out. So you bring in Shane Bowen. He was a terrible coach in Tennessee. But you bring him over to the New York Giants. This loss is on Shane Bowen, but it's also on Brian Daboll because this is your guy. I don't want to hear anything about Joe Shane right now, the general manager. This is Brian Daboll's coaching staff. I will give him a lot of credit for how Jaxson Dart is looking right now and how that offense is clicking on all cylinders without Malik Neighbors. And the offensive line is still a major issue. But Jaxson Dart, he seems like he's going to be a superstar in this league. And I want to be careful with that because we've seen a lot of quarterbacks come out in year 1. They look phenomenal. In year 2, they take a step back. But Jaxson Dart, right now, at this moment, he has played winning football with the New York Giants. We haven't seen this from the quarterback position in a very long time. He's playing right now better than what Daniel Jones did in his first year with Brian Daboll, and they made the playoffs that year. But to allow 407 total yards in this matchup, 142 rushing yards, is ridiculous. And this is the same team that had 12 penalties in this matchup, and yet you still lose this game by a point. The kicker deserves blame. Brian Daboll deserves blame. Jaxson Dart had that bad interception. Don't get me wrong. But Shane Bowen, he deserves 98% of the blame with how bad this defense has been. This is the 3rd game now that your defense has been unprepared in crucial situations. What are you working on in practice? The players are there. The coaching isn't. And the one positive about this win, about this loss, Jaxson Dart has looked good against top-tier defenses this season. Against New Orleans Saints, he looked terrible, but he had a bunch of bad turnovers in that game, and yet he still had some big-time moments. But against the Chargers, that's a top defense. He had a very good game. Against the Philadelphia Eagles, that's a tough defense. Had a very good game with Cam Scatterbo. And today against the Denver Broncos, they were a top passing defense, a top rushing defense. He was 15 to 33, 283 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 interception, and he also had a rushing touchdown. They took the scrambles away from him. He only had 11 rushing yards. And he's doing this without Malik Neighbors, his best offensive weapon, on the outside. He's throwing to Theo Johnson at the tight end position. Darius Slayton, he was out in tonight's matchup. So he's throwing to Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson, and the same with Lil Jordan Humphrey. He's getting the most out of those players. And we've seen those wide receivers struggle with Daniel Jones, Tommy DeVito, and Russell Wilson. So you have something here in Jaxson Dart. That's the one positive. But the biggest negative right now, and that dark cloud that is hovering over this entire situation, unfortunately, is Shane Bowen. And I don't believe that the New York Giants will be a playoff team this year, even if they have a better offense, because you have a rookie quarterback in Jaxson Dart and your offensive line and pass protection, they're still up and down. They're not relatively good outside of Jermaine on a couple of snaps here and there. And he's been better than Evan Neal at this position. We all know that Andrew Thomas is still their best offensive lineman. But they still have a ways to go on the offensive end. They're going to be limited without Malik Neighbors. But at least this could be a team that can compete. And we saw that today. We've seen it in every single game since Jaxson Dart has been the starting quarterback. But the biggest negative here is your defense. And if Brian Daboll wants him to coach out the rest of the season, he can leave with him as well after this season, because he's a huge problem. We should have never brought this man back last season. Fire him, leave him in Denver, and let him find his own way back to New York, because today's outing against the Denver Broncos was terrible. And like I mentioned earlier in this video, this is just not a one-off occurrence. It's not a knee-jerk reaction. I've been saying this over the last year with Shane Bowen. He's terrible with the run. He's terrible in gap discipline. He's horrible in every single situation possible late in the fourth quarter. Against the Washington Commanders, against the Dallas Cowboys. But yet he is still employed by the New York Giants. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about the New York Giants defense? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless.